Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, spotlighting the innovators, disruptors, and forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail.
Each week, we'll dive into the tools, tech, and strategies that help dealers win in today's market and get a little personal with our guests.
Introducing our host, Sean Kelley, #1 Amazon bestselling author, Special Operations Combat Veteran, and CEO of Car Motivators, known in automotive as the Car Biz Coach.
And JP Burkemper, automotive AI expert and co-founder of VinSight, helping dealerships retain customers with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
Now it's time for the show.
All right, welcome back to Automotive Innovators Unplugged. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits every operator, every service director, every dealer principal at some point in their career. How do you absolutely blow up your dealership shop in a good way while still succeeding at home with your family? Because let's be honest, in fix ops, growth usually comes with long hours, pressure, staffing headaches, and constant problem solving. And too often, success at the dealership comes at the expense of success at home.
But today's guest is proof that it does not have to be that way. I'm excited to welcome Chris Lardieri, Service Director at Route 18 Chrysler. Chris has led significant growth inside his shop while building systems, developing people, and creating momentum that doesn't rely on him being at work 15 hours a day for every second. And just as importantly, he's committed to winning at home as a husband and father. Today, we're going to unpack leadership, discipline, systems, delegation, mindset, and what it really takes to scale a service department without sacrificing your family in the process.
Chris, welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, JP. Thank you for having me, Sean. Happy to be here. Look forward to unpacking the topic and going over all these details.
Chris, take us back to the beginning. What did your early career look like before you figured out Miles?
Well, I was the service manager / service advisor / lot attendant / warranty advisor, doing claims at 10 o'clock at night at my house and working start to finish to get the job done, no matter how long, sometimes 6 days a week, 7 days a week, just to make sure to hit the numbers and get where we needed to be. So came from a upbringing of previous management of like hands-on, I need to do it, I can get it done. And that was kind of what I started my career like.
Chris, you gave me a flashback to back when I was, a general sales manager. I remember there were nights where I'd be pricing cars till 1:30 in the morning. My wife's like looking at me like, what the heck are you doing? I'm laying in bed in V-Auto, So I can relate to who you were back then.
And Chris, that brought you to Route 18. When you first took over the department, was anything broken or was it more just about optimizing what you had?
A little bit of everything. The shop was in a bit of disarray. The gentleman, as much, I have a lot of respect for the man I took over for, really great guy, but just he was in the phase of retirement and, the shop needed some tender loving care. And then we had parts inventory in a bay. I had, metal and scrap in another area. It was unsafe, unclean. It was a bit of a mess and, needed some technician build up. So it was doing okay. It just had a lot more potential,
Chris, you've grown the shop from about upper twos, low threes a month, and you're consistently knocking on the $500,000 a month door. I know that's a big push for you this year. What were the first real changes that started that climb?
Well, I think for me, there's a lot of things, but one would be getting every bay workable and available, right? Because the bays make money, so they can't be making money if they're storing parts. So organization as far as a flow through just the physical shop, and then pricing and proper training with the advisors to make sure that they understood what and why they were selling what they were selling and how to sell it. Why is the effective labor rate so important and why are the hours per hour so important? Because I find that you talk to a lot of the service advisors and managers are telling them where they're at in gross or what have you, but they're not going over the metrics. And if they are going over the metrics, they're not explaining to them what the metrics even mean. So then you got an advisor, your front line, they're selling your work, and they don't understand how it gets calculated. And for me, empowering them to understand all the data, teaching them what it all meant, and showing them behind the scenes was a big part of it too. Because now they get it. It's like, hey, if I sell at this rate and I pay the tech this rate, and we travel for this many hours, we're gonna, the numbers are gonna add up. So your job is important, to keep that. So, processes and line of sight to the employees, especially the advisors, was super important to it.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned a little bit about your start. Where'd you learn all this stuff? It sounds like you're doing a lot of teaching here. Where'd you pick that up?
So I've kind of always been, the personality I have is, I've been in the industry now 21 years. It's gone quickly, unfortunately. But I was very young when I got in here, and I would ask a lot of questions. I would spend time with people who seemed like they really knew what they were doing. I try to learn from any manager, leader, anybody that was around me, and just retain that information. And then when I first started here, it was kind of standard to what most of our industry does. It's, here's the keys, good luck. Hey, you got this, and we'll see you later. There's not really a training profile set up. So I was fortunate enough to stumble across a service and parts group through Chrysler at the time, sponsored. It was a 20 group, and in that group, I was able to now get into more of a financial understanding, what was going on, meet other top performers or guys who've done it for a long time, and partner up with them and ask them questions and get some help, which has grown into a whole nother project with Sean and I, which has been great, as far as 20 group wise. But 20 groups, to answer that specifically, were a big help, talking to other professionals in my area, and to eventually meeting Sean and retaining car motivators to help train our staff, which is really, I think, when I started to connect the dots on how to metric coach and motivationally coach, like properly train and coach all my employees to be able to do the things that they need to do, so that I can be in my office driving and steering the ship from the areas that actually cause permanent change and processes. And so that was, I would say, 20 group car motivators, and just always having my eyes and ears open.
That's awesome, Chris. I love it. Thank you for sharing the impact that my team and I have had for you and your crew. I love working with your crew. For the record, I literally had 1 hour and 44-minute session yesterday with one of your guys. It was awesome. It went great.
I'm assuming Mike.
Yeah. You saw the text.
Yes. Like, is this for me or is it for Mike? But it's funny because it's tied to me as well. So I enjoyed the message. I sent it to my wife and kids.
Yeah, coaches, we always got to stay in touch. But for you listeners, Chris mentioned the project on the 20 group. So, we won't have to talk about names or anything, but Chris's old 20 group moderator, was all mad at them, and, for whatever reason, attendance purposes. And he basically fired the 20 group. And Chris called me one day. He's like, "Hey, Sean, can you help me with something?" I go, "Sure, man. What's that?" He's like, "Can you help me build a 20 group?" I'm like, "Keep the ball moving on our 20 group. Will you take it over and facilitate it?" And I was like, "Okay." And then somehow, some way, here we are, and we made it happen. And so that's been a lot of fun too, Chris. What a great crew we bring together every 6 months.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'm so glad you included me in that, man. It's been a lot of fun.
And going from 200s, 300,000 a month to 500, wow! I mean, that's unbelievable. So that jump, Chris, was it driven by more fixing problems? I mean, you said you're a sponge. You learn so much, and of course you get it. But it's kind of, Mike Tyson said it. You always have a plan until you get that first punch in the face. Were you fixing a lot of problems, or maybe did you build anything new that was kind of outside what you learned from all your years prior?
I think some of it is new per se, in the sense of just structure of how it was done, because I feel like a lot of shops I had worked in, it's, again, the manager is more hands-on. I think I have done and continue to do is a good job of empowering my staff to do the things that they need to do, so that I can watch things more of that high level, see the misses and miscues that the customers are experiencing, and fix those easier than when you're in it. And I do a lot of asking outside people like Sean or random people, what are they truly seeing? Where are we missing the mark? So it's never, in my mindset, whatever we've done is never good enough. And something I implemented 2 years ago might need to be redone again, even though it worked really well. So constant reevaluation of the process, staying on top, and a big number driver, which I feel not every shop, it's important for every shop to really be on, is at least in our state, we have the warranty and labor rate increases. So if you're pricing properly to the retail customer, you can then prove that out to your warranty manufacturer. So it's pricing properly retail wise, then getting that reimbursement submitted so you can increase the rates back from the manufacturer. And then at the end of the day, we're selling hours, right? And so how can I get as many hours out of my shop as possible, while also respecting all of my employees' times as much as I want to respect mine. So I'm trying to find that balance where they get their home life, I get my home life, like everybody. So when people are off, one's upset with the other because they're short doing extra work for them, or like if on the topic of the home work balance, if we all respect it for each other and we all pull for each other, then everyone can, enjoy that. Not just the manager, but the advisor, the lot attendant, the technician, all of us.
I love what you said, that you've been working really hard to empower your people. And I would also, and leave it to the coach to ask the tough questions here, because I do want to know, early on, before you went into that mode, where were you the bottleneck? But I do want to point out to our listeners something that you said that I think was subtle, but very powerful in your path for growth. I coach so many leaders out there that are just, I don't know if they're scared to ask for help, or they avoid asking for help. They think it makes them look weak or soft, or they're just not, or maybe they get defensive. So they don't like someone criticizing their work or their effort or what they're doing. But I think Chris loves that book, Extreme Ownership. I think he could write his own book called Extreme Humility, because Chris is like, man, tell me what I'm screwing up. Tell me where my team and I can be better. Tell me where I'm not getting the results. Like, I really think that you are it's serious humility, which it's another thing that helps you grow. You're willing to ask for help. Even sometimes if you don't need it, you're like, take a look at this. What do you think? Because you're trying to figure out where you can grow. So I appreciate the way you're like that, Chris. And going back to it. So before this whole push to empower your people, where were you the bottleneck?
Even as I was empowering, or thought I was empowering it sometimes, like if my advisor's coming in with a question and then I am taking that item from them, doing it hands-on, and then giving it back, those were items where I'd be a bottleneck. So instead of me taking on the work order that isn't flagged or approved properly from the manufacturer, I could stand up, have them sit in my seat, and physically do it while I supervise them, so that the next time he comes in, I can ask him, well, do you remember what we did last time? Do you remember how we got to that? How do you think you should handle this? Which was something one of your guys, actually, Justin, that was a big key in him with me, was when they come in, it's with whatever the issue is, the first question should be is, well, I trust you, or statement, right? I trust you in your ability to do this. How do you see solving this problem? And how would you solve this problem if I weren't here right now? And see how they respond, because a lot of times they know the answers, they know how to handle the situation, but us as managers, to be a bottleneck, we just grab it, we fix it, we do it, and then we give it back. Where if we don't do that and we let them truly empower them, they stop coming in your office. So that's always nice too.
Chris, working with Sean and Justin, what are 2 or 3 weekly non-negotiables that you focus on no matter what?
So we meet, the non-negotiables are the one would be reoccurring meetings. So I have an advisor meeting, staff meeting every Wednesday morning. We do a shop meeting monthly. We review our numbers. They're sent out weekly. That never misses, so that everybody has line of sight to where we're at. And we're a big fan of, I don't know if it's non-negotiable, which kind of how we live. Like, if there's a problem in the moment, let's deal with them in the moment. Don't let things sit. Especially personality, whatever the issues are. We like to get everything to the table with fair rules of engagement, as Sean would teach you, with each one of them. So those are definitely deal with issues as they arise. Keep consistent with our meetings and our processes, and keep reviewing these numbers to see where they're at. Because if you're not tracking it, you can't beat it. Yeah.
You're right. It is way too easy to sweep issues under the rug, especially if you perceive them as small. But it's like, how does your team perceive them, right? And then if you sweep enough issues under the rug, at what point do those little molehills become a mountain? I think that is key. It's like constantly sweeping up that mess and keeping it, and I'm not just talking about actual messes here. I'm talking about like the culture of your team in order.
Yeah, it's in this industry, especially with like service manager to mechanic relationship. Every manager can say that they're sitting in their office, they hear or see the technician do something really small and it irks them. I had something, case in point today, tech had an issue with a time with the advisor. He's upset with the amount, so on and so forth. I'm listening and not exactly happy with how the conversation's going. And they finish the conversation, tech goes to the shop, and I reference it because in the past, I would just go. It's not a big problem. And then that same tack in a week, something else really small maybe happens. And then something small really happens. And then there's a really little thing that wasn't even as important as the first three. And I potentially get really upset over that one small thing, right? And that's the buildup of it all. And had we addressed the 1 hour issue as it happened, very calm and in the moment, it's fixed, and you keep moving and you stay positive. And they have line of sight that they've upset you, which I think is, is kind of important as well. So, and I encourage them to do the same towards me, when it's happened. So.
Yeah, those conversations are not often fun, but they're very rewarding. And that's the grease that keeps the cog moving, is having those sort of convos. Like, I've had I'm going to say privilege, but no, I'd say honor of coaching you and your team for about 5 years. It's been really awesome. And I love everything that you all have accomplished, and watching you all grow has been just a gift. So I want to ask you, what's changed most in your leadership during that time?
I think the biggest part for me is the truly empowering all the employees and teaching them how to do their jobs, and try to train them all to be the next managers. Because I have always wanted, and because I want to keep succeeding and climbing in life, and I don't want to set any limitations to myself, and I don't want to fall into the trap of, fear of hiring someone smarter or better than you because they may replace you. I mean, the goal should be for them to replace you, because then maybe you're doing something even better. So I don't sell them with carrots, or, whatever, like this promise of something to never be. But what I do tell them is that, I'm going to try to give them as much knowledge as power as I can. So if the opportunity comes up, they're ready for it. And what I'm finding is, they like it, they love it, they want more of it, at least the guys and the gals who want to grow. And time might never come for them or me, and we might all just still be doing the same thing, but we're all way better at what we do. And that makes the timeout process so much smoother. And if I need to be out, they need to be out, because everyone's just so much better trained and prepared, and cross-trained in what they're doing. So I would say empowering them all has been the most, and coaching, which is part of the empowering, learning how to properly coach my team. Like, and I don't even know if I'm fully there yet, in the sense that I think a true manager, and this is the part that gets from the hands-on to the non-hands-on, shouldn't really be doing anything, right? Like physical. Like, everything they should be doing is planning, drawn out, like, what's the next day going to look like? How are we going to solve this problem? Customer pay is down. How can I drive that metric with a process or a plan? Not getting out of my seat and going and doing it. And then teaching it properly and coaching your staff properly how to then execute that plan. So your desk should be essentially empty. You shouldn't have 100 work orders on it, right? You should have your projects, what you're fixing, what you're building. And that's then something too, is the ability to coach properly and become a real manager or leader, however you want to, term that.
Yeah. Empowering your staff through coaching sounds like a really great way to get buy-in. Hey, there's a high ceiling here, guys. Is there anything else that you're doing, Chris, maybe that stands out to get that buy-in from your guys on a daily basis?
I love that question, JP, because Chris is truly a master of getting buy-in from everyone.
I think it's important not to make it feel like you're selling, right? Like, if you're trying to sell them, we're all in sales, and if they feel like you're selling them, you're losing them out the gate. So it has to be genuine from you, which it always is with me. It's never an ulterior motive. There's a real reason why we're doing what we're doing, but it's making them part of the plans. So like we're currently right now, I'm currently in the process after reading, I don't want to butcher the title. What was it, Sean? The total or complete ownership or extreme? I always get it wrong. Extreme ownership, right? There's no bad teams, just bad leaders. And they talk on the topic of decentralized command. And in that topic, I start running my wheels of dispatching in the shop. I relate it to the dispatch system. You got 15 technicians, and without boring with all the details, I wanted to create several team leads, because I have a central dispatch. I have one guy trying to handle 15. So I wanted to try to break it out to 5 small groups, and those 5 team leads deal with the dispatch. So now he has 5 people, and I hopefully can create more proficiency and more processes followed properly, more inspections, more revenue, cleaner work environments, more things that I expect and need done that it's hard for him to have, taken care of 15. Now he takes care of 5, and those 5 take care of 2. But to launch that, back to the question, is we have a meeting for the last 6 weeks, every Tuesday night, the 5 team leads, myself, and one of my lead advisors in the dispatch, and they're part of the plan process. So I came up with some rough ideas. I pitched it. We met, we talked. The first meeting was like 2 hours. It was like just amazing. Like the guys all had positive feedback, good energy, and they gave me notes on what they wanted me to put into it, take out of it, what they liked, what they didn't like. I went back to the drawing board. We went back that next Tuesday night. And so I would say making them part of the plan so they can see that I'm not just doing this from a greedy company perspective. Like this is meant to, the real driving factor, honestly, to all of this too, was genuinely this amazing customer experience where they get the exact same visit every single time, and a better employee experience because they all know what to expect from each other, and the accountability is there. And so that's what drove it. And when I had that as the driving factor and they were part of it, and we're still not launching, we're launching on March 16th officially, but it's been fun because they're part of the process. So that helps with the buy-in. I feel if they're making the plan with you, then they have to take ownership to it because it's part of their ideas, you know.
Great answer. Yeah.
I think, Chris, you're really good about, redlining the engine, so to speak, of your shop, getting it to the point where it's like maximum, operating at max, but without, causing any damage to it. You're good at taking it right to that limit. And I've been a part of many of those coaching.
Blowing it up in a bad way.
and I've been a part of many coaching convos where, a team member was pushed to the limit. There's no doubt, but, we were able to help them stay on track. And I guess I want you to share, as you've pushed your team and your results to the limit and your numbers have increased, how do you protect the culture while scaling? Because I think you've done a really good job at doing that, and our listeners would benefit from your tactics there.
Well, it's funny you say it because like there's a store we compete with per se. It's like similar store size, similar gross, and the owners always bring up their numbers, and we're always a little behind them. So like I could go and kind of freak out over that and really get aggressive with my approach with everyone and expect everything to be perfect right away, or I can move it steadily on pace in a positive trajectory, right? Everything's always clipping up, never going back, right? And even if it went back a little bit, don't panic, just stay the course. So if I'm steady and the course stays steady, and as long as I'm growing, I know I'm eventually going to get there, and I won't burn my guys out along the way, which comes back to respecting the lives of my employees as much as I do mine and our personal time. I looked at the owner at one time and we were talking, and I said, I can easily turn, in a polite way, not, just like, we can easily turn this thing upside down in the mentality of how we operate. We can make it way more strict, try to find guys that just want to hunt and make as much as we can. I don't know if that will work or not, right? Or we can keep some personal feelings and attachment and personality and familyness to it and move it together so that, everyone's bought in and everybody likes and wants to be here. And it might not be as fast, the results, but I feel that they're stronger, they'll last longer, and it's a better place to work, and happy employees and happy managers and happy people generally do better work, right? So it's just, it's just slow. It's definitely not a fast.
I'd like to talk some systems with you, Chris.
Sure.
How are you handling customer communication at scale?
So right now we're using Numa. It's an AI for basically answering phone calls, relaying messages to us, and then we use Text-to-Drive for our multi-point inspections, our digital MPIs, so that we can send out proper, video, pictures, things like that. So that's with the current system, but it's funny because I'm actually looking to revamp all of that because I feel like we're in too many different areas and too many different sites, and so I'm trying to find one that can kind of do it all in one, because I think that would help a lot with the customer's experience as well. Kind of use as much technology as possible to improve their experience as far as texting, communicating, inspections, pickup, payments, all in one kind of platform. So hoping to upgrade that soon.
I like it.
How are you using AI anywhere inside? Where inside the service department are you utilizing AI?
So Numa is an assistant, so that's one. I personally myself am using it to help organize thoughts, plans, processes, to speed my time to completion tremendously. And it doesn't get it right, that it's a little frustrating at times because you put some stuff in, it spits something out as if it didn't hear you or know what you were saying. So some people think it's plug and play, but it's not, but it does make it a lot faster. Like, so if I'm having team meetings, I can recap a meeting inside an AI tool and spit a summary out in 5 minutes with all my thoughts and input then organized, compared to 2 hours maybe spent, right, trying to make it sound right. Then you're reading it, it doesn't sound right, you're rewriting it, the tone's off. So the definitely recapping meetings, notes for myself, helping with some plans. And I'm even encouraging my soon-to-be parts manager, who was a little anti-AI, or because he felt like, well, it's not me and it's fake and it's I'm like, no, it's all your thoughts. It just organizes them a lot faster than you can, and then it makes you more efficient. Like, because I'm using it, I'm relaunching, written procedures for lot attendants, relaunching written procedures for my service advisors, rewriting my technician shop flow, launching a new parts manager into my parts department, who's also going to be doing the same process of all new. And I've been able to, along with, as you know, helping with used cars and sales and different things. And I still have time to leave to go home with my family, but AI has played a big part in that, because I'm able to do it in a lot less time than I used to. So,
yeah, I mean, I think at this point, everybody, massive majority is using AI to make their lives more efficient, get things done quicker. Do you see it moving the needle anywhere else?
I mean, I think it will, for the technicians at some point, with their notes and workflow, like be able to put better notes into the ROs, it'll make them faster. I definitely see that. I hope it keeps working on the front of the appointment scheduling and customer communication, so you can eliminate, because I don't know how much a human needs to be involved in that. I think we're so used to liking the human interaction that I still get the frustrated customer. But if you really think about it, you're booking a slot, you're booking time, and the human interactions when you get here, and then we're dealing with you. So I think people, that would be great. The less inbound call that we'd have to deal with, but without upsetting the customer, would definitely be a game changer for us.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're seeing across a lot of our dealerships is, especially with Numa, that's answering the phone and can kind of go through that process. I was on the phone. I actually scheduled a service appointment with one of the dealers I work with. I sat on hold for like 14 minutes before somebody picked up the phone. And I'm just thinking, gosh, we gotta do better here. Right. So given the tools to put in the customer's hands, make that easy, make it, seamless. That's a win for everyone, right?
Yeah. Time is valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I need for the second time, we won't talk about why. I have to install a side view mirror in my wife's Jeep, and it's not my wife's fault, for the record, though. For the record. But to that end, it's like I'm trying to find a local dealer here in St. Louis that I can schedule online service. And it's like so hard. And like I jump on, I look for the scheduler and I can't, then I start chatting with them. And then they start asking me questions that I'm like, I just want to click a calendar and pick a time that I can bring my Jeep in. And like, it'd be nice if I could get a loaner car on there, but who knows? And I see how tough it is. So I appreciate the way you're trying to streamline and you're trying to make the experience as good as you can for your customer. And you're also doing that on your employee side. One thing, Chris, I want to touch on that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up. Like, Chris, you have moved one of your top advisors to parts. You've moved another advisor to parts. You took your top BDC agent and made her an advisor. Like you've moved a technician to advisor. A lot of shuffling. What are you doing there, and how's that been beneficial for you guys?
I think it's great because it's about the employee retention aspect and training them along the way and seeing people who are winning for you. They're working hard for you, and then rewarding them when promotions come available. I really don't like hiring from outside. My top advisor, if you travel all the way back in time, Jeff, who just did $135,000 in gross profit last month, 3.1 hours per RO. He was a lot attendant who went from lot attendant to lube tech, to alignment tech, to express writer, to service writer, to, he's a couple months away from service manager. He's almost, he's there. And that was my lot guy. Denise, like you said, that was the craziest part. I would challenge any service manager who's lucky enough to have had a service receptionist in the lane listening to you, try to ask for certain things to be done, listen to the advisors, some do it right, some do it wrong, who's been with you for like 5 years at least, right? That really has been there a while. Make them a writer. I guarantee you they will do everything you've asked to be done exactly how you've wanted it to be done, because they've just been sitting there listening this whole time, if they're worth their weight, right? And that's what Denise was. Like, she, from the point of JP, I mean, if you're in the industry, you get it, right? Like a proper service. So both of us, or all of us, like, customer comes in, car is finished, right? The advisor should go line by line. I mean, first week she's on the desk, she's line by line. Hey, I'm Denise. These are all the things we did today. Here are the items we didn't do. I attached a list for you. We really should get these done. And if you want to get them done, I put my business card on here. I'm not here this weekend, but I will be here next weekend in case you want to get it done next Saturday. And listen, you need anything, just let me know. I'm here for you. Have a great day. Everything's all set. I mean, she recapped. That was no, I didn't go and tell her to do that, right? She was watching and listening everybody all that time. And then it's crazy.
It makes me think of like a highly touted quarterback getting drafted, like an Aaron Rodgers getting drafted to Green Bay. They don't put him in right away. They let him hang out around the team, learn from Brett Favre. And then when they're ready, they put him in and they have all the tools, right? Just from being around the culture and, learning what to do, what not to do. That's awesome.
So right people, right seat has had a pretty big impact, and being willing to make some of those changes. Because I bet 90% of the service fixed ops leaders out there are probably like, when was the last time you moved someone from one seat to another to find a better fit for them? I bet 90% of them haven't moved anyone in a long time unless someone quit on them. You're very proactive in knowing where your people will best succeed. I mean, and I think you're really good about that.
Well, and I think what you said, quit or you lay them off. If they're like, I have had some employees that weren't strong in certain spots, right? And it's much better conversation transitioning them to another opportunity with equal and or better income that maybe they fit better in, the right people, right seats mentality. And then once that's in place, that's when you really start rolling out the processes, which travel them back. Like, the more they're empowered, the more the processes are set, the more time I can have at home, with my family and not get my phone ringing. We were able to take this past year in August a 2-week vacation. We went to Hawaii, we were in California, and I just had payroll on Monday mornings. That was about it. Couple emails. But I couldn't imagine that 12 years ago. Like, I was scared to take a week off, and I took legit full 2 weeks in the busiest season of the year, August, and had the best time with my family. And we underperform maybe 5-7%. Like, it wasn't anything notable. Well worth the time I got to take off. So,
and luckily you have a dealer that wants you to enjoy your life too, and that's in and of itself is rare. So
yes, yeah.
I'll ask you this, Chris, kind of going back to the technology, the systems. What surprised you the most about implementing new tech or these new processes that seem to be just getting better every day?
I think how smooth they operate and how much they truly are just in the background. So Numa was initially just to answer phones, which then turned into, hey, we can book appointments for you now. And then I turn around, I'm asking my staff, I'm like, is it, how's it working? And like, it's booking customers. So it's how seamless, fast, and you don't even know what's happening. So that's awesome.
It's always nice whenever you roll out something new and it's like, oh, it actually works. Wow. And it does more often than not with the right leadership and explaining the why, and that no doubt.
I don't get as many complaints from the emails from the customer of, I just want to speak to a human. Like that's
those are going
almost non-existent.
Yeah.
It's almost, I think we're all used to it by now.
You're in the process of building another shop to handle even more volume, and I know that that's not cheap in New Jersey. What does that level of investment say about the confidence in your leadership?
I hope it speaks that they trust that if they give me 7 or 8 more bays and invest $3 million, that they know that I know how to fill that shop and turn another 250 to 300 grand a month, of profit out of it. And yeah, it's exciting, long time coming, and looking forward to having those bays in that space, especially for our commercial side of the business, which is what it's really going to be meant to fill, which happens to be our largest return, an average dollar per RO by double. So,
Chris, you building anything else right now along with those new bays, processes, structure, leadership bench?
Just the decentralized command of the shop. We're hopefully a new shop going up. Our big goal is, like, even though we run everything well and we talk about the scaling up, like, our shop proficiency has bounced between, like, true proficiency, 92, 94, average of 91. We want to get that to 95, 96, maybe even 100%. So that's a big push this year while we're waiting for the shop, because a lot of money in those extra 2% clips of proficiency. You know, it could be a difference of, for us, 10 to 20 grand a month every time you surpass one. So that's something we're really pushing towards right now.
So I love about leaders like Chris, man, they never stop building and they're always trying to find what's that next opportunity. Let's shift to balance. You run a, darn near, we're knocking on the door, the 500K per month operation. You're expanding. You make time to lead team meetings and give one-on-one coaching to people on your team. Yet you also coach your kids' soccer team. You attend their games and you even work out daily. When did you decide family and health were non-negotiable?
Family always. It's just, was I really there when I was there? So like, in the early years of managing, like I would be home and coaching and doing those things, but my attention wasn't really locked in on them because there's always some distraction. I'd be coaching or practicing, my phone's ringing. Hey, we had this issue, we had this issue, we had this issue. And so, I think what's been nice probably the last 3 to 4 years is that, because I coach, like, as you said, I'm fortunate enough to be coaching both my son and daughter's teams. I volunteer as the president of our soccer club and have been on the board with 25 travel teams and 300 kids for the last 8 years now. But it's to be able to do those things without the interruptions. So it really is their time. I lose my phone on the weekends. It hits the counter. I don't know where it's at. And I have no fear that something's going to happen here that I have to be at it. That's been really awesome.
And that's just a product of everything that you've set up. Are there like systems that allow you, that made you feel more comfortable to put that phone aside? So you could be more present at home, anything you set up at the dealership?
I think the biggest thing was taking inventory, because most of the phone calls I found were day-to-day items that did not need my help, and they would even ask for it when I was here. So it goes back to when they're coming in the office and they're asking you for the question, like, how would you solve it, empowering them to solve it. But also Sean had me do a really fun project of time management where he has this whole calendar and you go in and you fill out everything you do from your breakfast. It sounds like what I was talking about.
I've been through that exercise.
It's a cool exercise from a lot of ways, but you find out you're doing a lot of things you don't like doing, or you're doing a lot of things you don't need to do, really both. And that was probably a big part of it too, using that calendar to then, not pawn my stuff off on everyone, but give them what they should have been doing anyway, right? And balancing it so that, when I'm in my window of my time, it's my time and my family's time. So,
Chris, another thing, you've become quite the avid reader over the last few years. How has reading and personal growth influenced your leadership decisions? And I ask that because I remember I went years reading. Like when I was in combat, I would read in Iraq because there was nothing else to do, and we would get some books, in the mail, and we'd read them. So that's kind of when I developed reading. And then I got out of the military, started my professional world. Didn't really read much for maybe a decade, and I grew, but I stayed pretty stagnant. But when I started reading again, that's what set me down this path of being an entrepreneur and a businessman, and no doubt a lot of personal growth. So how for you, how has reading and that personal growth that comes with it influenced the decisions you make as a leader?
A ton. I mean, a ton. I have a 45-minute commute in, 45 commute home, right? So with the audio books and I like my music. I try to do the comedy channel because, don't want to get my brain all messed up in any of the nonsense, all the other stuff, just loud noises that just distract you. So to be able to take that commute and plug a book in that has to do with being a better leader, more successful at home, entrepreneur, like whatever it is, my mind has just really just opened up to sometimes an almost unhealthy level of like, because you realize how much could be done. Like we're only limited by what we want to do and what we try to do and what we make a plan for, and there is no limit as we set that. So it's a little scary, but it's awesome at the same time. It has just some very simple topics, which is the last 3 books are all the plan we're doing right now that I think is going to be the difference of 92, 91% to 100. I really do think it's going to get us to 100%. None of those would have happened without reading the books that I have been going through, because they just all kind of painted a picture of where I was missing the mark and how I could do better.
So turn the page. If you stopped investing in yourself, I talk a lot about systems, Chris. If you stopped investing in yourself physically and mentally, would the shop keep growing? And for how long?
If I stopped investing in myself,
If you got hit by a bus, I don't want, that's a little dark.
if I just, hey, if I'm just not here and I left one day,
Yeah.
I like to believe that I've built this in a way that my guys would be able to take it
Run
and run with
Yeah.
it.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and that would be my hope, so that because listen, again, that's the goal. I want them all to be as successful as possible, along with myself. So yeah, I think they would do very well. So we have a lot of open dialogue. I encourage them to read. Can't get them to do it yet. I wanted Sean to make that one of the requirements going forward. Get them on some books. But it's amazing what's out there and what's in them. Sean's got a lot of good lists of.
I can coach on that. Absolutely. Chris, for the service director who's stagnant, they're stuck where they're at. They also feel buried in work every day, and they're not able to find that great balance of family time. What's the first thing they need to fix?
They gotta take they gotta do that. You take a list and inventory of what they're doing every day, and how much time is each item taking. They're going back to the calendar, right? Like what are the things that are on my desk that I shouldn't have and I can be giving out and I'm doing because I feel like I need to be doing, but I shouldn't be doing. And that would be the first step into giving yourself a little breathing room. And then once you have the breathing room, now you can actually start seeing the things that are happening instead of reacting to the things that are happening, and start making some plans of your own to continue to improve and better your department. But you got to give yourself some time and give yourself a break. And we don't need to do everything. We don't have to touch everything.
Man, I love asking smart people good questions. A great answer, man. Very wise.
Chris, my final question for you, looking ahead, what's a top performing service drive look like in 5 years, do you think?
Top performing service drive in 5 years. I would say, taking automation into effect is, the drop off should be seamless, where, customer can pull up, similar to like a rental car experience, right? Like you're just cars, loaners out there, keys ready, customer drops theirs and, their key into a box. Why they're here. The interaction then becomes at the point of inspection, getting sent to you, and then the advisor and the customer are now communicating to approve the work. And then when they're coming to pick up, cars in a parking spot, paperwork's ready, it's washed, it's clean, ready to go. Just paperwork's there, no misses. Their history's easily pulled up right on their phone of everything they have done, needed to have done. Just seamless and painless, because there's no reason it should have as many steps and things in the way as it does right now.
Chris, here's my final question for you. And this is deep and personal. When your kids are grown, what do you hope they remember most about the way you led at work and led at home?
That I was patient and able to see things for what they were and help guide people to success and guide them to success, even in tough situations or times or problems. So I would hope that they saw that, and my hope is that I help some other people get to some better places, and especially my children, to be even more successful than I'll get to be. And that would be my home there.
That's awesome. Chris, this has been a powerful conversation. And I think what stands out most is this: growth doesn't require chaos, and success at the dealership doesn't have to cost you your family at home. I think you've shown that with the right mindset and right systems and the right leadership approach, you can build a high-performing service department and still be present for the people who matter most.
So for every service director or dealer listening right now who feels stretched thin, overwhelmed, or stuck in the grind, let this be proof there's another way. You can scale, you can delegate, you can develop your people, and you can go home proud, both professionally and personally.
So if this episode resonated with you, share it with another fixed ops leader who needs to hear it.